Does not have the leg. And Chris Davis takes it to the back of the end zone. He'll run it out to the 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 45. There goes Davis. Oh my God, Davis is going right all the way back. Auburn's going to win the football game. They're not going to keep him off the field tonight. Auburn has won the Iron Bowl.
Auburn has won the Iron Bowl. Chris Davis said afterwards that it was divine. No one knew except for this guy right here, Skip Bayless. It was the unthinkable. We asked this question. Some say, critics being, that Nick Saban may have outcoached himself. Did he lose that game? Stephen A. Smith, the floor is yours to tell him how great he is and whether or not Nick Saban lost the game.
Well, first of all, congratulations. You did call it, and you called it right on the money because you didn't make any football sense. You alluded to divine intervention kicking in, you know, and that's exactly what transpired. I couldn't believe it. It was quite shocking. Auburn deserves a lot of credit. They got a lot of guts. Obviously, you got the Iron Bowl. You got that in-state rivalry. They were going at it. You knew that they weren't going to fold like cheap tents. They deserve a lot of credit for fighting back. But I have to acknowledge to you that on a day like today, there's just no doubt in my mind. I mean, to me, the shocking part in all of this is that Nick Saban dropped the ball. Obviously, listen, let me be very, very careful about what I'm about to say because this kid, Cade Foster, may have been the worst field goal kicker I've ever seen in college football. That much is true on that particular day. But I totally agree with Golick on Mike and Mike earlier this morning where he talked about the people on Twitter and other places, the things that they were saying to this man, the threats that, I mean, you're crossing the line. It's a game. Yeah. Pump your brakes, calm down. Those people are the worst of the worst. It really, really is bad. You don't go that route. But having said that, he looked absolutely petrified from the first go, from get-go. He looked like he was ill-equipped to be in a game like this. And so I bring that up because obviously you have an opportunity for a chip shot field goal to give you a 2-possession lead if you're the Alabama Crimson Tide. If you're Nick Saban, you should have gone for that field goal as opposed to going for it on 4th and 1. And oh, by the way, calling the same run and play you've been calling. I don't understand that. So to me, that was a mistake by Nick Saban, particularly when you followed that up by electing to go for a later field goal for 40-plus yards. And this is with the same field goal kicker who you've seen throughout the game look like a deer in headlights. As far as I'm concerned, that last field goal that was kicked by Griffin that ultimately was returned for a touchdown, the game-winning touchdown, had that dude been inserted earlier, I'm like, insert him for the chip shot. Give him an opportunity to come. That's where I think that Nick Saban dropped the ball, but it was also about Cade Foster and how awful he was as well. Because if you're Nick Saban, you have to coach entirely differently because this field goal kicker simply was in over his head. But in the end, you also got to look at Nick Saban because even though it's the field goal team on the field, and the priority was to make sure that the field goal didn't get blocked, Skip, at the same time, because it was, 56, 57 yards, right? You've got to have somebody out on the field. I don't know if it's C.J. Mosley or somebody else. You've got to have somebody out there on the field other than a bunch of fat guys that can't run trying to defend in the event that this could be returned. You've got to, and Nick Saban is known, Skip, for living on worst case scenario. This is a guy that's on the record that talks about how he enjoys himself maybe for a couple of hours after winning a national championship game before he is on his grind again because he is always living on that worst scenario credo. So if you're doing that, why would you all of a sudden have that lapse in that particular moment in a game of this magnitude with virtually, if not literally, a national championship on the line? But in the end, what it comes down to is that you were right on the money, and I'm going to repeat this again. You were right on the money because even as we talked about football, you gave Auburn its credit, but you said, well, Alabama might be the better team, but there is something going on with this team where it will find something happens in its favor. And that's exactly what happened Saturday night. It was one of the greatest, if not the greatest moment in college football I've ever seen. And arguably sports. I loved every moment of it until the very last.
Well, even Chris Davis saying that it was divine. Their team is divine. So
remember, that's the third great escape.
Yeah.
Remember at Johnny Football? Yeah. Uncalled horse collar should have been called. I think Johnny Football is going to win that game. Yeah. They lose 45-41. You know,
Georgia.
That's miracle. That's just straight miracle right there. This wasn't miracle. This was just meant to be. And before I proceed anymore, the happiest I was on Saturday night was that from this point forward, for at least the rest of this year, I do not have to listen to Roll Tide, because now I get to say Roll Tigers, Tigers, Auburn Tigers. I loved it. And for the first time in my time with Ernestine, she does not like college football. She watched every play of this game because she couldn't leave because it was riveting to